Bosses of Reddit, what the worst interview you've seen? Had a guy who interviewed for a position. Seemed to do okay in the actual interview, but when he was not selected for the position, he sent us an invoice of a few $1,000s. He charged us his normal hourly rate for his time and billed us for 50 hours. Edit. The interview was 30 minutes over the phone with a recruiter and 1 hour on site. He drove to the office, which only took him about 30 minutes to drive. He did itemize the bill for us and the bulk of those hours were for preparation. We did not pay him. He tried to insist we pay him. We showed our lawyers who just laughed, so we still did not pay him. The best part was he was interviewing for an hour position. One time an applicant told me that he was temporarily placed in charge of a team, and one of the team members spoke mostly French, so he told him to learn English or get the F out of here, and then subsequently sent him home when he did not immediately learn English. The question was, tell me about a time that you worked well under loose supervision. When my dad was going through applications, in the reason for leaving last job part, a man wrote that he had shot his previous boss in the head. His PO had told him to be honest. Maybe that was a little too honest. So this guy went through 5 30-60 minutes interviews. DevOps role. I thought he was great and was ready to hire him. Just as a formally, I asked my boss to interview him. After 15 minutes she walks out and tell us to send him home. This is what he asked her. I'm not sexist, but I know a lot of other people think women aren't great engineers. So my question is, how is it that you go into such a higher level position? Was it luck? Why would you ever ask that? My old boss told me that one of the applicants put Jesus Christ as a reference. He asked him, how would we contact your reference? Since the applicant didn't put any contact info for Jesus, and my old boss was curious on how he will answer. Apparently the applicant told him like this, and then he started praying. I forgot to ask him if he got the job or not, since I couldn't stop laughing. A woman was about 15 years older than I was and clearly didn't understand that I was the one actually interviewing her for the job. This was an engineering position on my team, making $175,000. She was very candid with me regarding her overall personality and actually put her purse on her lap at one point and doing her makeup while we were talking. I guess she thought I was the secretary and she was making small talk before meeting with my boss. I was interviewing for a position out of college and was greeted by the receptionist first, who proceeded to tell me that I likely had no chance as she wasn't allowed to interview for the job, and she was far more qualified. She then proceeded to be overly condescending at any opportunity she had, due to my age. Well, I interviewed well enough to get a second interview, and sure as shit, she was there, and aghast that I would even get a second interview. Even said something to the effect of, why are you wasting their time? They eventually offered me the job, but it wasn't something I was interested in, sales. But I made sure to stop by the office one last time to let her know personally that I turned it down, and I even said to her, you're welcome to reapply if they are that desperate. And yes, this did happen. And yes, looking back at it, it was incredibly small of me. I was so proud of myself being better than someone else that I failed to realize just how much of a douche I was acting. Interviewer. So, what qualities can you bring to the team? Applicant. I don't know. Interviewer. Well, what do you consider yourself good at? Applicant. I don't know. Interviewer. Okay, why did you apply to the position? Applicant. They told me to. Interviewer. Who told you to apply? Applicant. I don't know. Back when I was HR manager for a market research firm, one of the most awkward interviews was with my candidate and his mother. This 19-year-old, who apparently had previous work experience in customer service, brought his mother into the interview with him. I politely questioned his mother as to the reasoning of her joining in on the interview, and I was told, I'm just making sure this is the right company for him and making sure you're asking fair questions. I decided to roll with it. Why not? This is the most interesting thing I've had all week. So I asked my first question. She answered for him. I politely explained that the interviews I conduct are with the candidate only unless special accommodations are required. I was told, I'm not going anywhere. I thanked them both for coming out and explained that the position requires problem solving and critical thinking on an individual level. Unless I am hiring the both of them under one salary working together as a full-time equivalent, This wouldn't work. I was then told I would be sued and to F myself. We had an applicant for a teaching position who stated on his resume that he held a Master of Music degree from Yale. When interviewing him, I asked what he thought of Woolsey Hall, Yale's primary concert hall, and its renowned pipe organ. By his answer and facial expression, I could tell he'd never been there. After he left, I called contacts at the university who confirmed that they'd never heard of him and no one by his name had received a degree there. I'll bet he doesn't really have a doctorate of Kung Fu either. I once interviewed a guy for a work-study position at a college radio station. The position was for 10 hours a week as a sports reporter. I told him that he would sometimes have to carry the equipment for the remote broadcast of sports and he immediately took his shoe and sock off and put his foot on the table to show me a scar on his foot. Tells me that he has a plate in his foot and sometimes it hurts and he wouldn't be able to carry heavy things when it was hurting. TLDR. This dude put his bare foot on a table in a job interview. I've got tons of these. This one is my current favorite. I had a guy come in for a CDL and site work, truck driving and earth moving equipment position. After the initial pleasantries he went on to inform me that he didn't like small talk. His pet peeve is people who socialize too much on the job when there is work to be done. He likes to get right to it and get hammering away on that work. He just doesn't understand these people who just talk instead of getting on with it, not like him. He's not interested in chatting. No, he's got a better work ethic than these damn kids and he's not going to stand around gabbing about nothing when time is wasting etc etc. He went on like that, no exaggeration, for an hour and 20 minutes. A solid hour and a half including the initial question and answer bit at the beginning. I wasn't even mad, I just let him ramble on. At the end of it he asked if he would be starting that day or if I needed to do some of this paperwork stuff for him. He hadn't even filled out his pre-hire information forms. Absolutely majestic. I was sitting in on an interview and this kid comes in with an open Hawaiian shirt and khakis. This was for a state job, mind you. When asked if he had any questions for us, he goes, "Yeah, do you drug test?" And when walking him out of the building, he's looking at the pictures of all the heads of that department and stops at the only woman on there and goes, "When can I meet her? I want to know about her life." We immediately shredded his application. In 2010, I conducted an interview with an applicant for a warehouse job. During the course of the interview, I mentioned my slight frustration about the grounded flights in Europe due to the volcano eruption in Iceland. Grounded flights meant we weren't receiving stock, and work was slow as a result. Applicant chimed in with, and I'm paraphrasing, "It's just another one of those things. He knows. He's mad. Who's mad? God. He's mad. Just like that big tsunami a few years ago. God's mad, and he's letting us know. We need to be more careful." More careful about what? Do you think this whole gay acceptance thing? God's mad and he's letting us know. We need to abide by the good book or this kind of thing is just gonna keep happening. Then he failed the drug test. I was working as a front-end supervisor for a big box retailer going into the holiday season. This was the beginning of November. I get this girl who came in for an interview and I let her know it was seasonal work, but that we would be keeping some of the seasonal hires after January and inquired as to whether she was looking for seasonal or long term. In the most stereotypical Valley Girl voice I've ever heard she replied, "Well, I basically got in trouble for bad grades and staying out too late, and my parents are making me pay for my own car insurance this month." That was it. She just stared at me expecting her to hire her on the spot. I did not do that. I do still wonder if she ever got a job that helped her pay her car insurance for that month, though. I sat in 4-hour interviews at my college. We had an Eagle Scout come in and take us page by page through a scrapbook about his scout career, page by page. It was 10 or 20 pages of him explaining each and every one, taking a minute or two each time. We interrupted him to continue the interview, to which he got a little angry and said he was almost finished. He was able to add a page after the interview on how being an Eagle Scout doesn't guarantee you an RA job. I once had an interview at Home Hardware when I was younger. The boss asked me that stupid "where do you see yourself in 10 years" question, and my dumbass answers "not working at Home Hardware when I'm 30. It wasn't a jab at him, I kinda rambled about having goals and that flew out at the end. So the 35-year-old didn't hire me after I insulted him to his face. Go figure. Now I try and be more present in the moment and less of a dick.